Hello again, I am Blanty. The Monster Hunter community tends to be fairly chill. There's far less drama and festering horse crappery than you'd find in a lot of other games that have highly active online multiplayer systems. I've spoken about this before, more than a couple of times, and in large part I think it comes down to the fact that we all share a bond as hunters, because it's a purely PvE game. We're literally all on the same side at all times, and I think that bleeds through into the community vibe. Oh, sure, there's some cockwombles around, but you know, overall, a pretty good community vibe. And occasionally you'll get a tourist pop by and try to leverage our beloved game for their own insipid, selfish agendas, as happens a lot these days with basically any and every high-profile game. The grifters and joyless, mouldering wannabes trying to latch on to any popular bandwagon with their sad little paint-by-number rackets in the desperate hope it will keep people paying attention to them for the next 5 minutes so they can imagine a world where their idiocy is, relevant. Well, one such prolific culture war grifter just tried it with Monster Hunter Wilds, as the hype train screams along, sparks flying off the rails at his Gamescom, and got absolutely bodied by the fandom for sticking his fetid, greasy little nose in where it wasn't wanted. What happened to Capcom? From Monster Hunter Worlds to Monster Hunter Wilds, with an image of the handler from World and Olivia, an NPC and hammer-wielding assist hunter from Wilds that we just found out about out of Gamescom. Now, without any context, you'd be sitting there thinking, what the hell what does that mean? What are you asking? You've posted two images of two unrelated NPCs from two related but wholly separate games from the same franchise, and are asking, what happened to Capcom? What does that even mean? Baffling. What's your point? What's the context here? But then you notice it's from sad little blue tick Mark Kern. Mark Kern, aka Grums, who people have only ever paid attention to because once upon a time, a long ass time ago, he worked on World of Warcraft. And when I say once upon a time, I mean like literally 2 decades ago. 20 years was the last time he touched it, but you bet he still clings onto it as the first thing in his bio, because nothing, and I mean nothing he has ever tried to do in the game industry ever since, in the last 2 decades, has even been slightly successful. Nothing. And in his frustration, he now just spends his days screeching into Twitter, imagining up the dumbest hot takes he possibly can, and throwing tantrums about things being woke and stuff. Just kind of super cool things successful game developers at 56 years old would do with their day. But with Wilds, he tried to pick a fight he was desperately ill-equipped to have. With the context of who posted it now, and if you've ever been unfortunate enough to be exposed to his grade school level intellect before, now we can make a safe assumption that the issue here is, the problem with Capcom, is probably that he's very upset for Capcom making one of the women in the new game more difficult for Mark to masturbate to than a different character in a different game that he found much easier to masturbate to. Seriously, that's literally what we're talking about here. The sad little gooner Grums is very frustrated that not every woman in every video game can be spank bank material for him. Which is only made funnier, and quite frankly sadder at the same time, by the fact that the handler herself, the wankable example Mark used for comparison's sake, faced this exact same criticism from sweaty little incels when World launched. If you go to Nexus Mods, you will find piles of old mods that attempted to make the handler cuter, a lot of which I can't even show you because they are so explicitly sexualized her in a way that I not only find it personally creepy, but also YouTube would have a fit if I tried to show it to you. Point is, it's funny to see crusty gooners like Mark lust over young imaginary women like the handler and dream of the days when women in their games made them hornier than the women in the new game when the handler herself faced the same criticism to begin with. Even sadder still, there's already been more than one female NPCs from Wild's previous trailers and reveals and such that have had the less grass touchy types out there drooling on their keyboards over because they are so very sexy. There was explicit fan art of Gemma, the blacksmith from Wilds, less than 2 hours after her first reveal, and I'm not exaggerating, I literally mean less than 2 hours after she was very first revealed, there was already very explicit fan art doing the rounds out there. And I get it, sure, Gemma is, I'd find it very hard to argue against, very, very hot, ticking all the boxes of, current beauty standards. Then there's Alma, not as obviously sexy perhaps, but she's ticking all the boxes for people who find a quieter, cuter, slightly nerdier thing very hot. The classic sex librarian, I suppose, or the Velma style thing. Or to use the parlance of anime, she's moe as hell, right? Now here comes Olivia, who ticks other boxes, for other people, boxes for people who like to say the word mummy a lot, I imagine. And frankly, personally speaking, even though my personal aesthetic tastes for what I consider hot don't generally lie in, or as strongly in the more butch femme side of things, Olivia is quite hot. And that's the funniest part here, because people like Mark Kern constantly whine and complain about how these days women presented in video games aren't made to cater to their horny little fantasies as much anymore. But Capcom, very carefully and very, very deliberately, keep making sure that many tastes are catered for in the Monster Hunter games. There are so many deliberately attractive NPCs in these games, and we're talking about games that are filled with extremely rugged people who fight gigantic monsters and dinosaurs, for a living. Nobody should be that pretty in this world. They should all be beat to heck. But they're made to be pretty, and like many anime, they tend to be built around certain archetypes to make sure as many players as possible can find their waifu or husbando to have goofy little conversations about online. That's part of the fun. Nobody takes it that seriously. It's just fun. And Monster Hunter, of course, continues to be perfectly happy to lean into silly, impractical, sexy armor choices. Lots of fishnetting and boob windows and thigh gaps and corsets and gowns, and the actual players who play the game love that stuff. Monster Hunter has been and is and will continue to be unapologetically this way, culturally this way. It's part of its bones. And it walks the line wonderfully, in my opinion, between sexy, titillating, aesthetic pandering without also being completely grossly exploitative about it that, makes you feel creepy and weird. You know what I mean? But these losers like Mark will whine whenever a video game woman so much as has a square jawline, claiming it's too masculine. She's been masculinized because she has a square jawline. Hi, Sigourney Weaver, Olivia Wilde. You think that those girls are masculine? Because I don't. I think they're freaking smoke shows. It is so sad, man. These people have clearly had their whole brains rotted away. They're leaking out of all their orifices. They've convinced themselves that every woman everywhere, real or fictional, doesn't get to exist or respected as a person unless they're hot enough for them to get a boner over. How do they not see how weird that is? It's so creepy, man. There's something broken inside them when it comes to how they see women. It's repugnant. And it's not even enough to be that weird and creepy, but they have to be out there telling on themselves so loudly where everyone can see, look at me, I wank over video game characters so much it publicly upsets me when I can't do that to one character. Dude, Mark, dude. Oh my God, Mazius, Mark. Hi, dude, how are you not embarrassed by this? Oh wait, turns out he was embarrassed by it. Turns out the Monster Hunter community wanted exactly nothing to do with this gooning wanker using us and our beloved franchise as fuel for his insipid little culture war grift, and instantly dogpiled his sweaty loser ass with such speed and ferocity and brutal efficiency that he had to delete the original tweet in crippling shame, if indeed he is capable of feeling shame. I have my doubts based on his behavior, but in any case, he tried to walk it back with an, I didn't know about Gemma. She's totally going to be someone I go over a sad little wank over, so I guess Monster Hunter Wilds is okay after all, because there is wank material in there for me. Dude! Sweet baby Jesus in a clown car. Dude, Mark! This is not a better look for you, you buffoon. Screaming to the internet, oh, I'm sorry, I was upset because I couldn't get hard over one of the other characters. I found someone who does make my little pee-pee get hard, and now it's okay. I don't hate the game anymore. That's who you're telling people you are, man. I mean, man, I figured that these Gamergate boomerang dipshits would be coming to this game because it is so high profile, and because, it's a bandwagon they want to jump onto. They can sort of get seen a little bit easier, and they were going to find something to flail about. But I figured they'd be going after the fact that was also just confirmed yesterday, that there's now no more gender lock on armor. Now, regardless of if you pick a masculine or feminine body type for your hunter, you can freely equip either gendered variant of any armor piece. I'm sure this will trigger the usual weird little chuds into screeching about woke or something, but as anyone who's actually been a part of the Monster Hunter community knows, this has been an extremely frequently requested change for a very long time now, and it has. Very long time. Go look for yourself. It won't take much searching to find it. years and years and years of posts about people wishing that there was no gender lock on the armor. The helmets are an often brought up example. Male helmets are very frequently closed, big chunky closed off helmets, and a lot of hunters want to see the faces they designed in the character creator, so they wanted to be able to wear the female helmet style on their male hunters because the female helmets tend to be more open. Well, now you can do that. Capcom are letting you do that. Conversely, the thigh gap, the thigh window, very common on female leg armor in Monster Hunter. It annoys some people that they wanted to wear some more practical looking leg armor that didn't fall so easily into the old cliche of, the meme about female armor and male armor in fantasy games. They wanted something that looked more practical as armor on their otherwise female characters. Well, now they can do that. All you need to do is put on the boy pants. Problem solved. But that's the part I expected the Gums types to shit their pants about in public. Cross-dressing in Monster Hunter. Pearl clutch. Gasp. The wokeness. Meanwhile, the real Monster Hunter players are all celebrating it, giddy with excitement about instantly doubling their Fashion Hunter game choices. It is a frequently repeated meme in the community that the true end game of Monster Hunter is unlocking the layered armor and playing the Fashion Hunter game. And when I say all of them, I mean all of them. I went looking in the usual fandom places for people who were upset about this change. I figured I'd find a few to have a little laugh at and put up a screenshot of their comment, but no, literally every comment, every last comment I saw about this expanded feature, about the removal of gender lock on armor, was excited and happy at having more style choices. I know I am. For me, it's mostly about the helmet choices, like I was talking about before. A lot of times on my fashion sets, I've simply hidden the male headwear on my male hunters, so I can just, I can see the face that I created. But now I've got more options. I can find a suitable, open face femme headwear to put on there instead. But yeah, watching Mark get completely triple-carted by the real player community who wanted none of his crap and railing him for his gross little weird obsession with masturbating to Monster Hunter NPCs and trying to use the fact that he can't get his little man scrubbed out because one of them has a short haircut and that's just too butch for him, and trying to use something we love as a tool to artificially manufacture some cultural bullshit and failing so hard he had to backtrack within the same day is glorious. Well done, Hunters. This is the kind of gamer gatekeeping we need. It's often something we don't want. You don't want to gatekeep people away from something you love. If you love a game so much, why are you trying to keep people away from it? But this is the kind of gatekeeping we need to keep people like him the hell away from our community. Because, Mark, keep walking, mate. Ain't nothing for you here except more embarrassment. Unless that's your kink. Do you have a shame kink, Mark? Is that why you keep saying the dopey ass shit you say in public? Because you want to be publicly shamed for it? Does that help you choke off your little chunk of meat when you're staring at pictures of imaginary young women in video games? Is that what helps you? I mean, woo! I don't want to kink shame, especially kink shaming a shame kink. But, I'm kind of jammed up in a catch-22 here when it comes to that. What is a man to do? Oh, I know. Maybe I'll just enjoy my video games instead of being a super huge weirdo online, whining about not being able to wank to imaginary women in video games. Oh, my God. The guy is such a creep. Ew. Get out of our community. Keep walking. Feck off. Until you reach the feck off gate, climb over the feck off gate, keep going to the feck off horizon until you can't feck off anymore, and then just keep fecking off. Mark. You picked the wrong fight. Mark. Off with you, mate.